You're sitting in a meeting. Someone asks you a question and you freeze because the answer is somewhere in your head, but you just can't think of it. Or maybe you're helping your daughter with her homework and you read the same math problem 3 times without really comprehending it. That brain fog during your autoimmune flares, it's not coming from your brain, it's actually coming from your gut. I'm Jennifer Franchak. I'm a functional nutritionist and an AIP certified coach. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the exact reasons why you're struggling with brain fog, and the 3-step protocol to start reversing it. Stick with me because this is going to change everything. If you're a woman with autoimmune disease who's been waking up exhausted after 8 hours of sleep, rereading that same work email 5 times because the words just won't stick, or maybe you're standing in front of the pantry for 5 minutes, totally forgetting what you even went there for, you need to hear this. You're not losing your edge. You're not becoming that unreliable mom or employee or entrepreneur that you're terrified of being. It's your immune system attacking your body. And one of the first places where you can feel it is in your brain. This is especially true for women with Hashimoto's, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, MS, Sjogren's, or really any condition where your immune system has gone rogue. And the reason why no one's connecting the dots for you is because they might be looking at your brain when they really should be looking at your gut. So let me show you the exact science that explains what's really happening underneath the surface. During an autoimmune flare, your immune system releases inflammatory chemicals called cytokines. And I'm specifically talking about IL-6, TNF alpha, and IL-1. Now, these are the same chemicals that make you feel achy and exhausted. But those cytokines don't just stay in your joints or your thyroid, they actually travel through your bloodstream, cross into your brain, and activate your brain's immune cells, and these are called microglia. Now, when microglia stay activated for too long, they release their own inflammatory molecules that literally damage the neurons that are responsible for memory, focus, and processing speed. And that's why you can't think straight. It's not you, it's neuroinflammation. So, guess where these inflammatory cytokines are coming from? Your gut. Your gut lining is supposed to be a selective barrier, kind of like a security checkpoint that only lets nutrients through. And it's held together by proteins called tight junctions. But when you have an autoimmune disease, your gut lining becomes compromised. And we call this increased intestinal permeability or leaky gut. And here's the really important part if you have an autoimmune disease. When those tight junctions break down, things that should never enter your bloodstream, like undigested food particles, bacterial toxins called lipopolysaccharides or LPS, and even pieces of your own gut bacteria slip through into your circulation. Because these should not be there, your immune system sees them as invaders. And because your immune system is already hypervigilant from your autoimmune condition, it launches a massive inflammatory response. This is why you could eat something seemingly innocent, like a piece of bread or even a healthy food, and within 30 minutes to 2 hours, the brain fog kicks in. Have you experienced this before? But it gets even more specific because when your gut bacteria are out of balance, and this is something called dysbiosis, they produce byproducts that can overstimulate your brain's nerve cells and lead to oxidative stress and slower processing. Your gut bacteria are really supposed to produce helpful chemicals like short chain fatty acids that calm inflammation. But when the wrong bacteria take over, and this usually happens with autoimmune disease because people are taking antibiotics and they're stressed and maybe inflammatory foods and medications, those bacteria start producing compounds that can disrupt the communication between your gut and your brain and even damage brain cells over time. Now, here's the important connection that ties this all together. Your blood brain barrier, the protective shield around your brain, uses the same tight junction proteins as your gut. So when one breaks down, the other follows. And this means that those inflammatory cytokines, those bacterial toxins, and those food particles, they have direct access to your brain tissue. And this means that those inflammatory cytokines, those bacterial toxins, and those food particles can directly affect what's happening in your brain. Your already activated immune system sees this and attacks. That's your brain fog. That's why you can't remember your colleague's name, or you stop in the middle of the sentence because you forgot what you were going to say in the first place, or you can't think of a word. This isn't a character flaw on your part. This is biology. And understanding this is the first step to fixing it. So stay with me. What does healing actually look like? Well, it starts with understanding that your gut and your immune system are actually part of one system. Like I've said so many times on here, everything is connected, and your gut, your immune system, and your brain are all connected. So when your gut is inflamed, your immune system stays activated. And when your immune system stays activated, your brain stays foggy. So what do we do about this? Where do we even begin? I have a 3-step protocol that I want to share with you that will help you to stop the brain fog that's been making it so hard for you to get through each day. Now, the first thing that you're going to focus on is removing the foods that are triggering gut inflammation and feeding dysbiosis. And for most autoimmune patients, that means gluten, dairy, sugar, and processed seed oils. And we do this so that we can heal the gut lining. The second thing that I want you to do is to rebuild that gut barrier with targeted nutrients. And these are things like L-glutamine and zinc and omega-3 fatty acids and collagen. These literally repair those tight junction proteins that we were talking about earlier. The third thing that I want you to do is focus on rebalancing your gut microbiome with probiotic rich foods and prebiotics that are going to feed those good gut bacteria. And those are the ones that produce anti inflammatory short chain fatty acids instead of neurotoxic metabolites. We don't want those. Now, when you do this consistently, your inflammatory markers start to drop and your cytokine levels normalize. And your brain fog lifts, not because you suddenly became more motivated or more disciplined, but because your body's communication lines are finally clear again. Now, listen, if you're watching this and you're struggling with brain fog, maybe it's one of your autoimmune flare symptoms, maybe it's just something that you've struggled with on and off for years. I totally get it. It's something that I have dealt with in the past too, and it makes it hard to function. I want to give you a resource that's going to help you with this. Go into the description box below and you can grab my free Autoimmune Harmony Roadmap. Inside, you're going to get my 3-phase autoimmune harmony method that's going to help you start calming that gut inflammation and clear your brain fog. You'll learn 3 specific foods that are going to help to rebuild your gut lining and the tracking method that you can use to test whether or not it's working in your body. Grab it before you close this video because I totally know how brain fog works and you might forget if you wait. Now, let me show you why the 3-step protocol that I gave you earlier works at the cellular level because the research behind it is really powerful. When you calm gut inflammation, you're not just helping digestion, you're helping to change your brain chemistry. And here's what the studies show about this. Women with autoimmune conditions like lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and Sjogren's often have elevated inflammatory markers, especially cytokines like I talked about before, the IL-6 and the TNF alpha. And what happens is these cytokines directly interfere with neurotransmitters like dopamine, which drive motivation and focus, and acetylcholine, which supports memory and learning. So, in other words, that mental haze that you feel, it's not all in your head, I promise. It's the result of your immune system literally disrupting how your brain cells are communicating. But here's the hopeful part with all of this. Multiple studies also show that when you reduce gut inflammation, support the microbiome, and repair your intestinal lining, the cytokine levels drop and brain function improves. And actually, MRI studies even demonstrate better blood flow and faster neural processing once inflammation subsides. This means that your brain fog isn't permanent, it's physiological and it's reversible. And that's exactly why this 3-step protocol works. When you remove your inflammatory triggers and rebuild your gut barrier and rebalance your gut microbiome, you're reestablishing clear communication between your gut, your immune system, and your brain. Your clarity doesn't come back because you suddenly became more disciplined. It comes back because your body finally stopped fighting against itself. So before we wrap up, I really love to hear from you. What does brain fog feel like for you? Is it losing your words mid-sentence? Is it forgetting what you walked into the room for? Or does it feel like that constant mental heaviness that just won't lift? I'd love to hear your description and what you're dealing with. So leave it in the comments. I do read every one. And your story might actually help another woman realize that she's not the only one dealing with this. Now, can I be honest with you about something? I think the hardest part of autoimmune brain fog isn't the science behind why it's happening. It's actually the shame and frustration that goes along with it. It's turning down that promotion because you're afraid you won't be able to keep up. It's how your husband's face looks when you forget something important. It's your teenager's sigh when you ask them to repeat themselves for the 3rd time. And it's lying awake at 2 a.m., wondering if this is just how things are now. But I need you to hear this clearly. It's not you, it's inflammation. And inflammation is reversible. When you follow that 3-step protocol I shared with you, by removing your triggers, rebuilding your gut barrier, and rebalancing your gut microbiome, you're not just managing symptoms, you're actually addressing the root causes. And that's when everything changes. In the next video, I'm going to share the exact morning routine that you can start right away to help lower inflammation and stop brain fog before it even starts. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.